Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good evening and welcome to Spring Global on Western Spring Television. Now the headlines. Rivers State APC governorship candidate Tonye Cole accuses a PDP of attacking him and his team. Finland to officially become the 31st member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization tomorrow. India opposition leader Rahul Gandhi appeals defamation conviction. My name is Tunde Idowu. We begin in Nigeria. The candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC in the March 18th governorship election in Rivers State, Tonye Cole, has accused the People's Democratic Party PDP of sending thugs to attack him and his team to prevent them from accessing the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Port Harcourt this morning. Mr. Cole said he and some leaders of his party were at the INEC office to obtain documents used for the election to file a petition to challenge the declaration of the PDP candidate Similayi Fubara as the winner of the election, but were attacked by thugs allegedly sent by the PDP. Speaking with the newsmen in Port Harcourt, Mr. Cole said he was assaulted by thugs whom he said pelted him with water, food and stones until he got injured.
And grabbed my shirt physically. They started throwing water at us. They began to punch me. They punched me from the back. And the next thing we knew, they started throwing missiles. Stones, bottles started coming down. My DSS and personal security, determined that I must get out of there, physically carried me out and pushed me to my security. In the process, they threw stones. I got a serious injury on my shoulder here, where a stone hit me at the shoulder right now. My cars, 2 of our cars or 3 of our vehicles were destroyed. Come on, democracy. It's just a disgrace.
So,
In Kaduna, the state government has imposed a 24-hour curfew on Sabongiri Nasarawa communities in the Chikum local government area of the state, following the killing of 2 persons. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, made this known, noting that the curfew is with immediate effect. Mr. Aruwan said the decision was reached following the breakdown of law and order in the area that led to loss of 2 lives in an incident of urban gang violence. The commissioner added that security agencies have been directed to enforce the curfew in the area and restore order while investigation into the incident has commenced. And in Africa, Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga cancelled anti-government protests scheduled for today, saying he was ready for negotiations following an appeal from President William Ruto. Thousands have joined 3 marches over the past 2 weeks against high living costs and alleged fraud in last year's vote. All have been marred by violence, with at least 3 people killed, 400 wounded, and some businesses looted. Mr. Odinga yesterday evening announced that he was calling off the 4th rally in response to Mr. Ruto suggesting that they create a bipartisan parliamentary committee to work through concerns over the electoral process. The opposition leader, who has disputed Ruto's victory in 2022, said he saw the president's statement as an olive branch and a positive development.
Today, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, who was my opponent in the last year's elections, has issued what I regard as an important statement since the election. We have... One second.
I think somebody should be doing it. It's okay.
Just keep your hand up.
We have met...
very fast.
We have met and listened to a diverse group of Kenyans, including religious leaders from all faiths, about the crisis facing our country today.
South Africa's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, re-elected John Steenhuisen as its leader as its campaign to unseat the ruling African National Congress ANC in next year's national elections. Mr. Sten Hussein garnered 83% of the vote to beat his opponent, former Johannesburg Executive Mayor Mpho Falese, who only obtained 17%. He will lead the party for the next 3 years. In his acceptance speech, Mr. Sten Hussein said the DA will work with other like-minded parties ahead of the 2024 elections. He, however, ruled out working with the ruling ANC and the smaller opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, in the upcoming elections.
And today, I publicly declare Julius Malema's EFF to be political enemy number one of the Democratic Alliance. And I commit the DA to fight back against the EFF at every turn, with the ultimate aim of defeating the Doomsday Coalition that could seal South Africa's fate next year. This is no longer about politics, Democrats. It's about the survival of democracy and the survival of South Africa. Throughout this period of this leadership campaign, I have reflected deeply upon the risk of the EFF coming to power and the
In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has set out plans for a police task force to tackle grooming gangs, as he said political correctness and had hindered efforts to curb the menace. The government said specialist officers will be sent to help local forces with their investigations. It said better ethnicity data will help ensure abusers do not evade justice due to cultural sensitivities. Mr. Sunak said for too long the weeding out vile criminals who prey on children and young women. He stated that his administration will stop at nothing to stamp out these dangerous gangs. Meanwhile, Labour said it called for expanded police specialist teams nearly decades ago, but the government failed to act.
Nothing is more important than the protection of our children, and I know that all of you here today are absolutely committed to stamping out grooming gangs and the sickening abuse of young people. Now, it is an absolutely horrific crime, and the fact that grooming gangs are preying on young people across our country and our communities is a huge failing, both morally and practically. Now, the problem is more prevalent in our communities than people have been comfortable acknowledging, and that's why, as Prime Minister, I vowed a major crackdown to bring the perpetrators of this awful crime to justice. So today we're launching a new grooming gang task force, police-led, to root out these criminal gangs, and I want to welcome members of that task force here with us today. Specialist police officers are going to be able to be sent into communities using the expert techniques to help us crack down on these crimes. They're also going to have a specialist team of data analysts working with them, because we know that better use of data can help uncover hidden exploitation, and in general we can't turn a blind eye to this type of offending. We're also going to toughen up sentencing, something that Suella will talk about, and we're strengthening the National Whistleblowing Hotline, working together with the NSPCC. I think taken together this represents a very significant set of actions to stamp out this appalling abuse of our young people. You know, we should leave no stone unturned. We should keep going until we can root out this horrific crime. That's what the Home Secretary and I are committed to do.
To the Western Balkan, former Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi has pleaded not guilty to 10 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The former president went on trial this morning with 3 co-defendants accused of killing nearly 100 people and other atrocities, including enforced disappearances. The allegation dates from Kosovo's independence war against Serbia in 1998 and 1999, in which more than 10,000 died. Mr. Thaçi was co-founder of Kosovo Liberation Army, a group fighting for independence, and is regarded as a hero in Kosovo. When Kosovo declared its independence in 2008, Mr. Thaçi became its first prime minister and later president, but resigned in 2020 to face the charges in The Hague. Elsewhere in Europe, Finnish Conservative leader Petri Orpo has won a nail-biting three-way election race, defeating Prime Minister Sanna Marin's centre-left. Mr. Orpo secured 20.8% of the vote, ahead of the right-wing populist Finns party with 20.1%, while Prime Minister Sanna Marin's Social Democrats garnered 19.9%. Petri Orpo's, whose national coalition victory with the biggest number of seats in parliament will become the next prime minister, promised to fix the nation's economy. Meanwhile, Finn's party leader Riikka Purra congratulated her center-right rival. With the top three parties each getting around 20% of the vote, no party is in a position to form a government alone. And to the Russia-Ukraine war, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said Finland will officially become a member of the military alliance tomorrow. Mr. Stoltenberg made this known to reporters in Brussels, stating that the alliance will welcome Finland as the 31st member tomorrow. Mr. Stoltenberg further stated that the alliance has not seen any changes in Russia's nuclear posture since President Vladimir Putin's announcement that he will station tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Last week, Putin announced that he intends to place tactical nuclear weapons on the Belarus border to help fend off attacks on Russia.
Nation has the right to choose own path. It's not for Moscow to decide who is going to be a member of NATO or not. It's for the applicant countries and for NATO to decide. And this is very clearly demonstrated here at the NATO headquarters tomorrow when we raise the Finnish flag and finalize the Finnish accession process. This is also good for Sweden. It makes Sweden even more integrated into NATO and makes Sweden even more safer. With also then Finland, a close neighbor, as a member. And then at the same time, as we celebrate and enjoy that Finland is now a full-fledged member, we should continue to work to also finalize the Swedish accession process. And I will continue to work hard on that. I'm confident that we will succeed. And in the meantime, Finland will be in a much, much better position.
Meanwhile, Russia's investigative committee says it has arrested a suspect in connection of the killing of a war blogger, Vladimir Tatarsky, in a St. Petersburg cafe bomb blast yesterday. Russian officials said Tatarsky was killed as he led a discussion at a cafe, with more than 30 people wounded by the blast and 10 of them remaining in grave condition. Investigators believe that the bomb was hidden in a box of the blogger that the suspect had given to him as a gift just before the explosion. The woman, Daraya Tripova, arrested on suspicion of killing the military war blogger, and a video released by Ministry of Internal Affairs admitted to bringing a figurine to the cafe that exploded. However, Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin said a group of radicals, not the Kiev government, was behind the assassination of the military blogger. You are watching Spring Global on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
A Euro-American trade in slaves by which 12.5 million Africans were captured from their indigenous homelands and transported via the Atlantic to Europe and the Americas. The transatlantic slave, also known as triangular trade, was the worst form of man's inhumanity to man and the most costly in human life of all long-distance global migrations. Hundreds of Africans chained tightly to plank beds in the belly of slave ships in horrific conditions were transported via the Atlantic and stripped of all human dignity on arrival in Europe and America. It is the greatest crime the Caucasians committed against the black race. It is impossible to discuss the transatlantic slave trade without a copious reference to impoverishment and underdevelopment of Africa and its peoples. The triangular trade left the continent in ruins. Western Springer Television identifies transatlantic slave trade as a watershed event in history.